Hello kiddies, Scott Grove here. Had a request just today to do on bass guitar, just simply chords and, believe it or not, double stops. Double stops are mainly associated with country lead guitar playing, but they can be incorporated into bass guitar and often are. They're generally referred to as something else, but we'll go with that for now. And it's just a request by one person, and that's all it took to get me going. So people are like, well, what about my request? It's like, I don't know, I just feel like doing certain things certain days, and you know, it's this felt good, so I want to play bass. So here we go. Simple chords, how to utilize them correctly, how to totally screw up everything by using them, and just simply how to do more than just play boring bass. You know, a lot of times boring bass is the most effective, but that's not the reason for this particular video. It's to honor a request, and I'm, like I said, more than happy to do this. Okay, so chords on a bass guitar. Yes, 100% valid. Everybody does them all the time. Okay, let me fire this puppy up. This here is not available in the USA. This Ibanez Iceman. This is the ICB 200EX. Okay, in a pearl white. It is not white. It's the metallic, kind of a metallic pearl. It's active and so forth. Groovy bass. So it's available, you know, overseas in the UK and Japan, of course, but not in the USA. It just happened to get purchased and smuggled over here, and I got her. I like it. I got a couple of these that are that way that are not available here. Okay, anyway, so enough of that. Let's get on to chords. Quick introduction to just the major scale, which needs to be gone over for anybody who doesn't know it, because chords are very simple, as is the major scale, and as soon as you know the major scale, all this will make sense. Let's go to way down here in the key of A. So you're on the 5th fret. Okay, I'm going to do the best I can with this little camera spaces I have here, so look closely. Okay, so on the low E string, A, we're just going to do the old do, re, mi thing. Okay, and these all just simply have numbers, okay, for our purposes today, which are just going to be, instead of going do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, 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 just count 1 through 8, okay? So we're going to be 5th fret, low E string, in A, so here's a major scale in A, okay, I'm going to call off the string name, and then the fret number. So on your E string, 5, 7, your 1 and 2. Then on your A string, I'm sorry, you're going to do 4, 5, 7. If you hear things rattling, that's a million guitars on the wall rattling. Okay, so we have, again, on the low E, 5, 7. And then on your A string, 4, 5, 7. Then on your D string, you have 4, 6, 7. Okay, again, 5, 7. Then 4, 5, 7. And 4, 6, 7. And that's it. Play it with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Backwards. Forwards. Backwards. Okay, now with numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now that is a simple lesson which you have to have. Now remember this, if you're on a 1, a 4 is always going to be straight down onto the next string. So here's your 1. So if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, then where's 5? 2 more ahead of it. Okay, so 1, 4, and 5 are going to be crucial in everything we do, as will the 3. Okay, 1, 4, and 5, very crucial. 3 kind of crucial, but mainly 1, 4, and 5. 1, 4 straight down, and 5. Okay, just think of Louie Louie from way back when. Okay, so 1, 4, and 5. If you happen to be on a high string like this, okay, so now we're actually in G instead of playing the low G, but you're stuck way up here and you need to find a quick 5. Okay, you know it can be 1, 4, 5, 4, 1, but you're playing bass, you're like, oh, I don't want to go to those high notes, I want a real quick 5. Okay, now in this instance 5 is directly above you, so you're here on G, now your 5 of that scale is above you now, and then 4, and then guess where 1 is? Just jump right above it, because 4 is down, so you were here, now 5, so we play what's called root 5th normally when we're playing bass, so root meaning 1, and 5, 5th, root 1, 5, 5th. That's 5, 6, 7, 8 is your walk. Yes, we're getting to the chord shortly. This here is just a little pre thing you have to have. Okay, sometimes that pre stuff oozes out. Okay, so you're 1, 5, 4, then you're low 1. Okay, when you count up to 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 equals 1. When you get to 8 again, there's no such thing as 8. 8 is 1. It's just an octave higher. So there's 1 in G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay, goes you right back to. Okay, so now this was taught to you because chords, okay, that's what we're here for, are made up of roots, thirds, and fifths as far as major chords go. Okay, so if you were to play a major chord, let's do, now these are going to be kind of odd right off the bat. If you think about it, let's go up to A again. Now I want to get actually the root 1 higher, an octave higher. So you skip a string and go up 2 frets. So you are at the 5th fret on the low E. So now you're at the 7th fret on your D string. So there's your 1. Where did I say your 5 is? Or you can go, but for chord's sake, I want actually your root, or your root is there, your A. Now your 5th is going to be there. Okay, straight above it. So there's A. Now we're going to add a 5th, and then we get to add, so we have 2 of those. We have a root and a 5th. Now we need a 3rd. Start counting up with your scale. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're already there. Okay, so we just need root, 3rd, okay, root, 3rd, and then a 5th above it. Okay, so there is a major chord. You have a root, a 5th below it, and then a 3rd. Now you can actually, if you look at this, if you want to add even the low A in, you actually just put the low one there. And then put in your other root, an octave higher, 5th, drop 1 right there on the 7th fret. And now we put our middle finger on the 3rd. So now we have 2 roots. Make sense? Okay, so that is a full scale bar chord is actually what it's called. Okay. How often are you going to use that? As often as you care to. But that is the theory behind making chords. Roots, thirds, and fifths. Just so you understand that. Do all of them always need to be present? No. A chord can simply be 2 notes, and most of the time it will be. Okay? Where you will have like just simply, let's do the A again. Okay? And then we're going to do a fifth above it. 1, 2, well, we don't even have to count, do we? Because we know it's 1, go down to 4, straight down, and then 5 is 2 more frets up. So just remember that. So there's a chord, there's an A chord, and you can add in your low A note. Okay, now a lot of people will use this. Now this is what the lesson is about. We're getting ready to start having some fun. So a lot of people will actually slide into something like this, hit the low A, and slide into them for whatever reason. Okay, so just know you have your root and your fifth. The third is often left out. Okay, if you ever get into a case where it's, okay, that's a major chord again, back to where we were. If you ever get into a thing where it's a minor chord that the band's playing, you have to know whether everything is major or minor. If it is minor, you have to flat the third, which means take that note back 1 fret. So however you count up to your third, it has to go back 1 fret in order to be minor. So here's major. Here's minor. To go backward, all we gotta do is lift that finger off. Okay, so the third is always kind of iffy sounding on a bass until you get it way up here, which we are going to do. Okay, so again, our root, which is our low A, another A, octave higher, 7th fret, D string, and our 5th. Okay, now what we can do here, okay, we are in guitar player territory, but sometimes bands that are like 3-piece bands, they can't just solely rely on just the bass part being interesting by going the whole time while the drums and the guitar are playing. You can sure use nice to add the chords and stuff in and the licks. So since we are concentrating on chords and not licks, I will stick to the chords. Okay, so all I was doing there, first finger, 7th fret, A string again, and your ring finger on the 9th fret on your G string. And if you can, no ifs about it, stretch your pinky. Everybody's fits, trust me. I've got little hands. You know what little hands mean? Yep, small gloves. Okay. Okay, so your pinky can sit there and whack away. That's right, we're going to be whacking. There on the 11th fret on your G string. Okay, so you can watch my hand, both hands here actually. Let me get you some light. Now if you want to keep that bass part going with your thumb, okay, so your thumb never stops. All I was doing, and my fingers don't quite reach, if you get your pinky somehow to go up and grab that 12th fret on that G string. If you fudge the other notes, so what? Just kind of mute them, but make sure you hear that one note. It gets so much easier the higher you go. If we go all the way up to E, little tuning thing. Okay, so that is one chord, just root and a fifth. Okay, and the other notes you're adding are your, okay, you got your root fifth, that's adding your sixth. There's your seventh. Seven, and up one more part of this, one more note in the scale, which is actually 2 frets. And you can actually simply make a chord out of that. Why? Because you're back to A again. Then the fifth above it. Okay, that brings me to another thing. We are into a new position now. We went from here. You can actually slide one finger up and you're covering the 14th fret on your D and your G string. Okay, so you have all new ways to play chords up here, and these can be actually finger picked or however you want to do them. So you have your root and a fifth here, then another root. Okay, so you can decide whatever you want to do with this, but here's the chord: a root, a fifth, and another root. Same as we're doing here: root, root, fifth. Now we're doing root, fifth, root. And the notes that you can play, same as before. Here's your fifth. Okay, so you're moving from your fifth. You don't even have to add the top one in, just whatever you feel like. It's music, it's your own interpretation, okay? Okay, so there's an A chord. Not an acorn. Okay, so that's what we're after, is the chord. So there's an A chord. And we have an A chord here. Okay, now another cool one is to show you multiple chords. Okay, we're going to stay in A for now, especially for our Canadian friends. A. Okay, this one is utilizing all kinds of fun stuff. We're going to utilize the third this time, which is very cool and used a lot if you use it properly. And I will show you how to do that. Again, root, another root, middle finger on your 7th fret on your D string. Now, where's the 3? Well, think about it. You figure it out. Where's the 3rd? Count it up. Use the scale. Don't even use the scale. Just think, well, that's 4. So I back it up 1 and it's 3. Okay, so remember, 4 is always going to be straight down. 3rd is going to be a 1 back. 5 is going to be 2 up. Okay, so you got root, root, and 3rd. Okay, at the end of songs especially, a lot of people like to use, okay, they'll just use a half a step, meaning 1 fret back, play the whole dang thing and slide it up into place. At the end of a typical song, or they go, that's just an octave higher than what we did. Bass players just love to do that. So there is another chord, root, root, and 3rd. There's no 5th this time. Okay, now here's where we get some movement using your chords. Okay, we're going to start adding all the other notes in the scale. Okay, here's 1. Now we're going to add 2. We're going to use the 2 actually. Okay, so we're using the root and the 3rd, and at a low root. Now we're going to move it up to a 2 and a 4. And a root, right? A 1, a 2, and a 4. Sounds weird right now, but it's not going to in a second. So we were at 1, 4, and I'm sorry, 1, 1, and 3. Now we're at 1, 2, and 4, root, fourth, and a second. Now we're taking that whole thing, moving it up one whole step, which means 2 frets. So now you are at the 11th fret on your D string and the 9th fret on your G string. Okay, so now you actually have a third here. So root, third, and then 5th. Remember, 1, 4, 5. So now you have a root, a third, and a 5th. That is a major chord. You have all the ingredients of a major chord. If you wanted to, you could even have just your pinky right here at the 12th fret on your A string, because that's your root again. So you can pick it out. Always remember, the closer you play back here to your bridge, so that will allow you to play melody things or things like that if you ever want to do that. Anyway, so the whole reason I showed you the other 2 chords was this. You have the first one, second one, you've heard these a million times. If you are pick users out there, bass players, use a pick, you'll really hear these notes. All I did from there, I went up, added the 4, okay, and the 6. So now we're doing a 4 and a 6. So you can bring them up as high as you want using the theory behind it. So you have 1, 1, and 3. 1, 2, and 4, 1, 3, and 5, and then root 4 and 6. Okay, then you can go up to root 5th and 7th. Okay, root 5th and 7th. Then simply add your pinky to the 14th fret of your G string, and you got root 5th and root again. So you have all that space here. Okay? Okay? You could do it as a major third 2 or a major 7. As such. And then from there, again, okay, so you have your chords. Okay, other ways to do chords are God, there's so many different little variations. I was asked about, also from the same one person who asked me to do this video, a technique called double stops, which simply means, because he watched my other video on guitar, country guitar, but this sounds anything but country when you apply it to bass. It's more of a funk type of style, which is very cool. And it's taking exactly the little progression I just showed you, the, okay, 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 so that's using 2 notes like this. You do what's kind of a claw thing, and you pop them up. Okay, so I'm going with this, our initial thing. Let me check my tuning again, it's driving me nuts. I'll just stretch them a little bit and see where we land. Anyway, so you got root, slap it with your thumb, and then up, like that, and stop it. Okay, so this is kind of a double stop style of a technique. It's just slapping and popping, but you're actually doing double stops, which only means that you're doing 2 strings at a time. Okay? So just 2 string chords, and you're doing a little popping and stopping. Okay? Pop, lock, and drop it, and do that. Okay, so don't forget you can add all the little notes in you want. Okay, we are here. Okay, root, root, third, root, root, fourth, root, root, fifth. Okay, so now, all being chords, you can actually okay, so you have root, root, third, root, root, fourth, root, root, fifth. Okay, invaluable. Okay, especially okay, so however you want to do it. Okay, so these are invaluable things as far as chords go. And same thing, if you are man enough to pull off these big ass bar chords from the beginning, okay, these are bar chords, B-A-R-R-E is how they're spelled. The same as what you would play on a guitar, but very hard to pull off on a bass guitar, especially way down here, unless you just got, you know, huge hands, which means big gloves. But when you get all that going on, unless you have cabinets with, you know, 4 8-inch speakers in it that sounds really nice and tight, if you're using like 15s or some stupid thing like that, you're just going to get nothing but mud, you know. So always keep all your tones and everything on your bass wide open. Anything less is just horrid. And the more closer, yes, I was an English major, believe it or not, the closer to your bridge you play, you can actually clean up the mud from that just by so actually it's useful. Then you're actually just moving my 3, my middle finger, to a 4. Okay, and then okay, so I'm actually doing the 5th fret on the low E, 7th fret, you know, root 5th, and doing it the 6th, back and forth. Same thing I was doing way up here. But now it's even harder because you're way down here, 2 frets lower. So just more chord stuff. Same thing, but different principle, and just laid out slightly different. Let's go to the key of E now. If you have 5 strings, cool. It all works out the same. Your bass is tuned the same all the way down. You just add the low B. Okay, in E. Okay, you have the typical chord, which is great. Number 1, let's do the one thing where you do the root, low E, and now we do a E up on our, I don't know, let's do it on our D string. Not this E, but the one an octave higher. Okay, that's right, 14th fret on the D string. What are your other choices here? You got root and a 5th above. You can fill that in because you're skipping the A string now. So you have root, and now you can cover the 5th. That's the 5th in the scale. 2, 3, 4, 5. See, there it is. Root, 4th, 5th. But we're doing a low E right now, just open, just for balls. Add the 5th in at the 14th fret. Add another root that we just found at the 14th fret. So we have root, 5th, root, and a 3rd. We need a 3rd. What is a 3rd? We have 1 string left. How do you find a 3rd? Duh, remember, straight down is a 4th, go back 1, it's a 3rd. Okay, so we have this, and go back 1. Okay, and now remember, you have a 3rd. Now your pinky is wide open to do anything. So actually, underneath all that, there's your 3rd, there's your root, there's your 3rd, root, 3, root, 4th, root, 5th, root, 3, root, 4th, root, 5th. You have all this going, which means your pinky can cover 4th and 5th, 4th and 5th. Okay, check it out. Now the 4th. Now 5th. I might have said 4th before, but there's your 5th. Another 5th. So you got 2 roots and 2 5ths going right now. 4. Get rid of your pinky. You're back to your 3. Add your pinky to the 16th fret of the D string. That's your 2. So you went from 5 to 4 of the scale, the 3, the 3rd, to the 2nd, which is a cool variation, back to 1. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, just in chords. And you don't have to sit there and pick it and make it sound like Jingle Bells or whatever the heck I'm doing. I mean, you can throw distortion and everything at it. I don't have it hooked up right now. But whatever you want to do. You know, whatever you do. Okay, so there you got your information. You got your root and your 3rd. So your low root. Again, slide into that. And you had the other one, the root and the 5th. So you can go bar it across. Okay, so you can do whatever you want with them. Okay? Okay, that's just your root and your 5th. And then adding your 6th with a low root there. Root, 5th, 6, 7. Okay, you can add that B in there, the B note, or the 5th. Again, and play all 4 strings, or all 5, I don't care. Then you got your low B you can add in there too. Okay, so same thing applies to that and everything else. Let's discover them, because that's what we're here for. It's a long ass thing on chords. Same thing, root, low E. Okay, we are going to cover things that are not in open positions. This is the last little thing I'll show in E, then we'll cover other positions. But I think you get the idea. Low E, then 7th fret on the A string gives you your root again. Root, root, then a 5th, which is down and there. Yeah, just skip 2 frets and go to another string. Okay, there's a chord. If you want to add another note, you can either just lay your whole finger down, okay, now you're back into the double stops that he was asking me about. Okay. Okay, now I'm just covering 7th fret and then hammering it on to the 9th fret. Okay, so you see where the chords are coming in. Low E, low E. Get up there and get funky with the root and the 3rd. And again, from earlier. Okay, so you have this one. I just let off of that one on the G string, your root, and just let off of it, and now I have a 7th. Very strange sounding, but if you get back here by the bridge again. Okay, so chords are meant to be used sparingly, or however the hell you want. They're yours now. I'm just showing you the basics of just chords. Okay, let's do something in a different key. Why? Because we need to. Okay, and we are at about the 40-minute mark almost here. Okay, so let's do something goofy. I don't know, what, C? Let's go to C. No open strings to play around with. So things are going to be very tough because they are far away. They're way down here. Okay, so this is up to you to almost figure out. I'm going to let you kind of try to figure this out in your head, and of course I'm going to show you the answers, but everything should be cut and dry here. If we are in C, we know it's here, 3rd fret on the A string. Okay, let's just add a 5th and another root to it. Okay, so I'm going to give you about 15 seconds to just simply come up with a 5th above, not necessarily above the string, but it's a 5th above, meaning in pitch wise it's higher, and then another root even higher than that. Okay, so root, then build it up a higher note for the 5th, and then even a higher note for another root. How do you do it? Hopefully you have it by now. Yes, root, 5th, because why? Root, 4, 5. Okay, so it's always going to be that. and then pinky right under it for your root again. Your octaves are always going to be one string skipped and 2 frets away. Okay. Trying to keep her on the camera here, but I can't. Okay, so we have that. So there's your C chord. Just that easy. Okay, but if you want to try to find other things, now you do not have the luxury of the low string, do you? I don't know. How do we figure that out? Of course you do. Okay, how do you get a C up higher? Well, here's a D note, so that means just back 2 is a C. Now you can either go with a root and a 5th. Why do we know that's a 5th? 1, 4, 5. So we can go. And how do we get a low C below that? We stretch our asses off and go all the way up to the 8th fret of the low E string. Okay, so you can add in that bottom if you want it in there. If you've got a keyboard player who's covering that low mess, then you get to go up here and just have fun with your chords. Okay, so then you're having fun again. Or root 3rd. Okay? Root 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, you can always just... It's cool at the end of a thing if you're doing a solo. I'm adding a 5th in below the root. Root 5th, root 5th. Okay? Okay, so if you're going to be playing way up there, it's nice to add the 5th in for some bottom end anyway. But at the end of a solo, if you're doing a bass solo, do that. Grab that low one and slide it up there. Okay, so just cool little ideas to go along with it. Might as well look good while you're doing these things. Okay, so don't forget to make all the faces when you're playing. Okay, so there you go. You got your common 3-note chord, root, 5th, root. And again, the 3rd in these things, if you're playing in a major key, find out from the band or whoever, or if it's minor, you have to flat that thing down to that. Now everything changes. Okay, we have to cover the minor thing with part of the time left. A lot of heavy rock and metal especially are almost always in minor keys, so that screws up all the pretty sounding chords. But now you get to the dark side. Okay, so now you got C, but now you got C here. So if you choose to ever hit a minor note, which is not generally wise in this kind of music, you know, you're just... You can grab the low one, 1, 2, 3. So that's your not your major. Your major would be here, 1, 2, 3. But you gotta flat it. So. So you're in minor, so you can still use your 5th always. The 5th is a safe bet. Major, minor, don't matter. So we have the 5th, the root, the 5th above it. Now we have that flatted 3rd. So should you choose to use it, but the other notes are still always safe. The 4 and of course the 5 again. you can. Okay, if you need to. But that's the theory behind that. And you can always pick out your chords too, just like it. Then it just becomes a run or a riff. It's no longer a chord. But to know that is cool. You just got... Okay, so you take everything you've learnt now from the chords and you can instantly play runs because you instantly get the runs. Play the stuff that you now know from all this theory, and you have the 4 and the 6. Go 1, 2, 1, 5, 6, 5, 1. And then you got 1, 2, now you're flatted third. So we're all over the place in minor that we can use. So that's just using what you learned from putting all these chords together and doing the theory. Okay, so that's basically it on chords. There are plenty of other things you can do. You can do bends and everything to make things really cool. God, they're everywhere. Like say, oh God, we got Louis. Okay. You can go from the third, go right behind it, bend it up. Okay, kind of cool. But remember, you can always just slam the holy crap out of this. I'm making most of these chords sound pretty simply because I'm trying to show you the notes. But if you are out there wanting to destroy the world by using chords, then by all means grab your pick and, you know, add some gain on your bass amp. So you're like, where was all that this whole 50 minutes? It's right here. That is simply your root, your fifth, and another root. And we're just taking the whole thing, going from a root to a seventh, but letting the chord do that too. And then we go up to the 2, just basically using your first finger as your guide from 1, 2, then the minor third. Okay? Okay? And from there, from the minor up to your, let's go up to your 4th. So your next chord, your A possibly, or since you're there, might as well let it off and let it ring. Or so I went up there. Okay, so again with that little just change it up however you want. And then once again, last little thing, again. Okay, little double stops. Low E. Okay, I'm just doing the root and fifth. Okay. Oh. Okay, same rules we're just doing here with the exactly the same, but just use one finger. Go all the way up to the E. Okay, so these are all still double stops that you requested. So that's why I'm putting them in here for you. Okay, so easy enough. So there you go, and I'll stop here. And once again, Scott Grove here, just honoring a request to simply show basic chords, the basic theory to how to form chords on a bass guitar, and how to do the double stops. And I hope that took care of everything for you and answered all your questions. So again, I do take the requests. Do I always do them? No, I wish I could do every one. I pull out one or two or three a night maybe and get away with what I can get away with before I get smacked by the missus trying to sleep, especially slapping around on bass and trying to play drum tracks to go along with it. So that's why I did not whip out the drums, because it's like it's like 2 o'clock in the morning here. We just watched all of the Hatfields and the McCoys marathon tonight, so watched that for 6 hours, and now it's really early in the morning, so no big drum tracks to bang along with on here, so sorry about that. So once again, Scott Groovy, and thanks dude, man, I appreciate the request, and just love dragging down any bass off the wall. I got a bunch of them around here, but this is a really cool bass. Once again, the Ibanez ICB 200EX out of overseas. I think it's just Korean or something. I can't even read me in my poor eyes. Daddy told me I would go blind. This is actually Chinese. So there you go. So we have to go, what is that? Okay, there you go. Me Chinese, me play joke, me put pee-pee in your cock asshole. She likes it in the asshole. Okay, I better take another pill. You guys take care. Bye. Oh, don't grow up to be me, please. Please. The world can't handle it. Take care.